Whoa! Oh, nope, I did not mean to click that. I just meant to click into the game. Should I have cursor? I'll turn off cursor capture. I don't think we'll... Yeah, I'll keep cursor capture on. I'm indecisive. So yeah, this visual novel, Cabin Fever, by the greatest game studio of all time, Sad Panda Studios, um, came out in July of 2021, and I did not find out about it until like, I want to say mid-December. Don't check the Steam achievements for this page because none of them are like spoiler markered, and a lot of them are very spoilery. It's not great. Let's new game. Configure settings. Music. I like the music. The music is very cozy, and I've been listening to it for the last like hour, not hour, half hour. Let's see. You got voices. Okay, it's not gonna like play any like the. Oh, we'll keep all the sound settings to defaults. Customize character name. I mean, disclaimer: this game contains sensitive content and is intended for a mature audience. For more information about our content warnings, visit here. I'm not going to click that because it's going to open browser and everything's going to lag and it's going to be a nightmare. Please confirm that you are over the age of 13 and wish to continue. I'm 20. And no one watching should be under 18, actually. Chapter 1, Prologue.
I don't remember much about the world before this sickness.
Oh, this was 2021.
I was just a kid when it started, too young to fully grasp all the changes happening across the globe. Looking back, it was as though some cosmic clearance bin of trashy dystopian paperbacks was spilling plot points out onto reality. You had your unknown virus, your slow-to-act world leaders, your extremists, deniers on one end, doomsday preppers on the other, and overall just a heck of a lot of scandal and angst. What it boiled down to was this: stay away from each other. Yep, that's simple. Stay away. Because the sickness mutated so rapidly, spread so easily, and killed so many that preventing transmission was the only way to stop it from wiping out the human race. A cure could be developed, they told us. Would be developed, they promised. Somehow. Someday. Life changed. Everything from school and work to medical appointments and family dinners became virtual. And as it turns out, hosting an online society requires a lot of computer programming.
This really was just 2021, wasn't it?
Like, a lot. Lucky for me, I'd always had a knack for stuff like that. It was easy to get trained and even easier to find work. When's the last time you heard a young person say that, huh? I did programming for medical services, government websites, automated manufacturing. There was no shortage of freelance contracts.
Okay.
Of course, places like movie theaters, shopping malls, and restaurants died out. Even farms and factories became rare, so much of the workforce lost. But to be honest, I personally thought all of it was a net gain for the planet. Fewer people meant less pollution. War and terrorism dropped to an all-time low. Most people learned to be at least somewhat self-sufficient.
That Panda Park closed to Vivid 22. Yeah, this certainly was a July 2021 game, huh?
As for me, well, since my parents both died not long after my high school graduation, I was probably more self-sufficient than most. I was alone for a long time, long enough to be used to it. At least I was healthy. I had my routine. with lots of work to keep me busy and the internet at my fingertips to keep me from getting bored.
Oh. I was holding that in so I wasn't coughing over dialogue.
What more could I have wanted?
Love? And that's chapter 1, baby. Simple as that. Speedrun. We're on world record speedrun strats. That's 7 minutes in and we're on chapter 2. Here, yeah, no, let me turn off cursor capture. There we go. I lived in an off-grid cabin that had been in my family for years. When I was young, we used to visit every summer, just to get away from it all. I'd probably call that ironic, but every time I say that word, someone else tells me I'm using it. I also need to turn this game down. Volume mixer. That is much better. I'll turn it up a bit. That should be perfect. Did I read that? Yeah. Anyway, when the sickness started spreading, that cabin became a place to survive. Had everything a small family could need. Like I said, by this time I was the sole member of my bubble. I was used to taking care of myself. A good day, with the sun shining onto the solar panels, I could get 30 kWh, more than enough to power the appliances in the house and keep the battery bank full. Since the cabin sat near the mountains, I'd often get a decent power level at night with the wind turbine catching the air coming off the ridge. But that night it was raining. Hard. Like most evenings, I spent this one on my computer playing my favorite idle clicker game and browsing the web for news. News was mostly doom and gloom, of course, but I liked finding the odd tech or space-related articles sprinkled in. So, for those of you who don't know, Sad Panda Studios started with idle clickers. Specifically, idle clicker dating games, if you want to figure out how those work. I've 100%ed Crush Crush. Like, I've done everything. They're constantly adding new characters, though, and I haven't played any of it, so I could go do that. But, you know, I'll just pat myself on the back for that. I was thinking about how badly I wanted aliens to be real when an email alert danced in the corner of my screen. I opened it. Yet another forward from one of my more gullible work colleagues about a possible cure for the death-dealing virus. This particular claim apparently stemmed from a breakthrough in the study of bovine bodily function.
What a load of bullshit. Literally. Good one.
I was pretty much the only company I had anymore, so yeah, I talked to myself. I deleted the email, letting out a heavy sigh. There was a point in time where I found that sort of thing amusing. The ridiculous conspiracy theories and clickbait titles. Now I just found them sad. I glanced at the clock. Time for tea. I put the computer into sleep mode and headed into the kitchen. On my way there, I accidentally kicked a broomstick laying across the floor.
Ow! 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 Why is that even there? I never sweep.
In that moment, I judged myself. Hard. Oh well, the world had basically ended, so what was the point of cleaning up? Like I was expecting company. Kicked the broom aside and carried on. In the kitchen, I steeped a nice big cup of herbal tea, and I tossed my used tea bag into the compost bin, noting as I did that the bin was nearly full. I'd have to take it out soon, empty it into the tumbler with the rest of my food scraps and plant waste. Then, probably in the spring, I'd add fresh compost to the garden, give my plants a healthy nutrient boost. I loved my plants. I wanted them to be strong in case they ever needed to defend the cabin from zombies or traveling salespeople. Barking to myself, I stood in the kitchen and sipped my tea. The only sound was the muffled rush of the rain outside. So peaceful. Last time I checked, rain didn't scream like that. What was that? A fox prowling outside? A raccoon? There wasn't a person in my garden, was there? I went to the window, peering out into the darkness and listening hard.
I don't have to go out there and check, do I? I mean, someone could be in trouble, but then again, someone could be trouble. Maybe just stand on the porch and yell for whoever it is to get off the lawn.
Okay, no, I'm 20, not 80. Come on. Read my options. Let me check something real fast. Hold on. Okay. There is an achievement for staying inside and locking all of the doors. We're gonna save twice. The achievement hunter in me really wants to go for this one. I'll just go ahead and investigate. Scream really had sounded human. I couldn't just ignore that. Much as I wanted to stay inside, warm and dry.
I was raised by humanitarian hippies, and all I got was this pesky conscience. Kidding. Love you, Mom and Dad. Please don't haunt me.
Whoa, it's Scotty! Hi, Scotty. I set down my tea, went to find my crank-powered flashlight, and shoved my feet into a pair of boots. Hopefully and probably I wouldn't find anything out there, but checking was the right thing to do. I opened the door and stepped out onto the porch. The flashlight flickered pathetically. Luckily, all you need to power a hand crank flashlight is hands, which I had. Scanned the dark garden. Raindrops lit up as the light passed over them, and the trees and shrubs around the cabin swayed. All I could hear was wind and rain. A chill ran down my back.
Yo, anybody out here? No? Cool. Have a good night then.
I turned to head back inside. A small voice stopped me in my tracks.
Hello? I'm here. Would you mind, helping me out of this, please?
Do we have, like, pit traps dug in our yard? The rain seemed to beat down harder as my pulse sped up. I turned my flashlight toward the voice, and my hand visibly trembled.
It sure is cold out. I'm definitely not shaking out of fear, because that would be super lame.
I forced myself to step down off the porch and follow the path, till finally I was close enough to make out the shape of a person. As the weak flashlight beam illuminated more, I gasped. Okay, hello there. That is ass. Whoever I'd been expecting to find, it certainly wasn't this delicate wisp of a girl. She was so pale she almost looked like a ghost. Even her hair, long and clinging to her face in the rain, shone bright, almost white in the glow of the flashlight. She crouched on her hands and knees in the mud, as though she had fallen. 100 questions raced through my head. Where did she come from? How long had she been out in the storm? Why wasn't she dressed for the rain? Was she lost? Was she sick? Holy shit, it's a woman! It's not a fox or a raccoon. She honestly kind of gives off like siren vibes. I tried to sound tough, like my dad would have.
You there! What are you doing on my property?
You just sound like you're from a fantasy book. The young woman squinted against the flashlight.
Please? I got lost I promise I wasn't trying to steal anything.
Her voice quivered, which I thought was kind of dumb. After all, she was the interloper. It was me who should be freaking out. Which I was.
Well, then explain yourself. Why are you just laying on the ground there? Seems pretty sus.
Oh, ow. That word hurts. That word physically stabbed me in the chest. Ooh, ow. That is, you can tell this game is from 2021. Why the heck did I add that last part? What was I trying to do? Lighten the mood? The girl turned her head away. Was she trying to make me feel bad? Was she, God forbid, stifling a cough? I took a step back, unwilling to take any chances.
I can't get up.
Just arrived to here seems pretty sus. Yeah, Burbit. You can tell that this was a July 2021 game. Matter of fact, tone surprised me. I guess I was expecting some elaborate sob story and or pleas for food or money or medicine. It could still be a trick, I thought. She could be getting ready to rob me. At this point, my flashlight was starting to lose its brightness. I stood there cranking the handle to power the light back up. It was a long, awkward intermission, backed by the droning sound of the flashlight being worked, but the light was coming back on. I wanted to crank a few more times to shine it brighter. Oh! I have a bear trap? The whole horrifying picture became clear. Somehow the girl had gotten her leg caught in one of my animal traps. She must not have seen the rusted old thing in the dark, and it had grabbed her calf and torn it open. What the fuck? I had a bear trap? Just sitting in my yard? What if I had stepped in that? Okay, so this probably wasn't a trick.
Oh my god. Are you okay?
I'm glad we're on the same page. Started to move towards her, but then my own legs froze in fear. Fear of getting close to another human. She's gonna rob me of my virgin olive oil? God, I hope she doesn't unvirgin my olive oil. If she was sick, then I could get sick. Then I had no way of knowing whether or not she'd carried the virus. Right now she was hurt and trapped because of me. I felt horrible. If I left her to fend for herself, anything could happen. Every bear might come along, the weather could turn freezing. Even if she did manage to get herself out of the trap, she would probably develop an infection fast in such a nasty mood. Yeah, okay. So, it doesn't look like it in the art. Maybe? Hold on, can I? Yeah. No, it does look a bit rusted. You can't see it. I forgot I turned cursor capture off. But, yeah, no, that looks rusted. She better have her tetanus shots up to date. Swallowing hard, I clenched my fist and forced myself to approach her. I had to get way too close for comfort. I had to crouch, open the trap, and freed her leg. It was bleeding pretty heavily. Now that I could see it up close, it didn't look to be as deep as I'd feared.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad you found me. I was afraid I'd be trapped in that thing all night.
Okay, great. Can you, get your ass out of my face? You're very pretty, but we have met, 5 minutes ago. And your leg has just been freed from a bear trap. I stood up quickly and took a few steps back. For some reason, the girl was smiling at me. Didn't she understand that it was my stupid fault she'd gotten hurt? And again, maybe she shouldn't have been sneaking around in the dark. My brain bickered with itself over who was to blame before realizing the girl wasn't able to get to her feet. I reluctantly offered a hand, wishing I'd thought to put on some nitrile gloves. Why would I have thought of that? I hadn't seen another human in... How long had it been? Accepting my help, the girl climbed her feet. She wobbled, leaned in, and grabbed my waist to use me as a clutch. Wait, hold on a second. Why are you wearing heels in the apocalypse? What? Why am I capturing waifus with bear traps? The bear trap, surprisingly, is meant for bears, not women who put their ass in my face. Girl, like, number one rule of apocalypse survival, don't wear heels? Accepting my help, the girl climbed to her feet. She wobbled, leaned in, and grabbed my waist to use me as a crutch.
Sorry. Is it okay that I'm touching you like this?
Out of context, this would be just quite the great screenshot. Her words sent a chill down my spine. Touching? Just the thought of it made me break out in a cold sweat.
It's fine. Let's just get out of this rain.
Probably not a cold sweat, it's just the cold rain. What was I doing? When had I decided to let her into my house? Warm light glowing inside the cabin was like a beacon drawing us in. Well, said my brain to myself, I guess this is the thing we're doing now. I no longer needed my flashlight, so I tucked it away and used that hand instead to help support the injured girl up the pathway. My arm around her waist and her arm around my shoulder, it became very clear to me how small she really was. Small and delicate, like a folded paper crane. A soggy, limp paper crane in a drenched dress that clung to her shivering body. Just then my pant leg caught on something. A nail jutting out from the side of the porch. Felt the fabric tug and rip as we moved past. Great. What an evening this was turning out to be. Once we made it inside, I helped the stranger sit down on a wooden chair. Made a mental note to disinfect that chair later. My clothes, and maybe even the flashlight. But first, the first aid.
Where did I put that kit?
I was never good at staying organized. Even on my computer, all my folders and internet tabs were a mess. No point in finding entropy. That was my philosophy. Searched the drawers, the counter, the floor. Nearly tripped over that dump room again before finally finding the first aid kit. It was not well stocked, but it would do for now. I gathered up some towels and my forehead thermometer too. Then I washed my hands, put on some gloves, and a face mask from an old box in the back of the cupboard. Brought everything over to the waiting girl.
Before anything else, let me scan your temperature.
I held the scanner up to her forehead. 2 seconds passed before we heard the good beep, which meant her temperature was normal. It should not be. She should be like borderline hypothermic.
No fever. That's a relief. Do you have any other symptoms?
Her eyes widened. She shook her head. It was still better to be cautious. I barely breathed as I took her leg into my lap and started tending her wound. Okay, hello there. Alright, that is certainly a screen to see. Can I, I can't censor that at all. I don't have any, censors, just prepared. Terrible on my part. Alright, well, I guess we've just got to deal with this CG for God knows how long. She didn't wince or complain at all. She was tougher than she looked. I'm trying not to look at it. I'm not the biggest fan of feet. If, you couldn't guess. She didn't wince or complain at all. She was tougher than she looked. I was the opposite. I knew I looked mean even when I wasn't trying. On the inside, I was basically a fluffy yellow duckling with anxiety. If our situation were reversed and it was my leg all cut up like that, I'd probably been a weepy wreck spouting rare and extravagant curse words. I need this version of me to teach me extravagant curse words. Teach me how to say fuck in Latin. But she sat there, quietly watching.
Are you a doctor?
Why are I'm trying to not look at that way too detailed foot. The text just keeps, forcing me to look. Burb, I promise I'm not enjoying this. I don't like feet. Was she
Do
joking?
you honestly think I look like a doctor?
Shit. Way to draw attention to your looks, idiot. Thought to myself. Not that I cared, really. It's just that I hadn't combed my hair in a few days. Or weeks. And I'd been living in the same set of clothes for a while now. Ratty old t-shirt with a rocket ship on the front and a pair of jeans that had long gone out of fashion. Hot, right? In another life, I might have felt self-conscious. Not about my teeth, though. Never about my teeth. Dentists were kind of a thing of the past. Since I wanted to keep my teeth for chewing purposes and whatnot, I was committed to practicing good oral hygiene. Sorry, ma'am, but you have a terminal illness and the only way to cure it is for me to lick your foot. Scotty, you can't be joking about terminal illnesses. The world has fallen to disease. She might have the disease on her foot. You can't just be licking feet.
Well, I'm not sure what a doctor looks like, but you seem to know what you're doing, and you're a very kind person. So I believe you if you told me you were a doctor.
I looked away, awkwardly holding a clean bandage against the gash in her leg. Towels I'd used to clean the wound were now a pile of blood-soaked, mud-stained rags on the dirty floor. Was I a kind person?
It's just basic first aid, not a big deal. Here, hold this. Put pressure on it while I wrap it up.
I wrapped a length of gauze around her narrow leg to hold the bandage in place.
That should be okay overnight, but we should probably clean it again and rewrap it tomorrow.
Her leg didn't leave my lap. Instead, she wiggled her toes and shot me a small smile. Don't do that. Don't do that.
You're going to let me stay here?
Huh?
I looked up at her and instantly forgot how to speak. Suddenly I was struck by how pretty she was. I mean, the rain had really done a number on her, but still. I can't believe she's hypnotizing me with her fucking toes. What the hell, man? This is terrible. Please, can we move on from this CG? She must have been around 20, give or take. Not too much younger than me. She was thin, but everyone was thin these days. With her, it was like she'd been built this way. Small and delicate and weightless. Her dress was simple and a little threadbare. The rain had soaked through and I realized I could sort of see her undergarments. I quickly averted my eyes, my cheeks warming. I hoped she hadn't noticed me looking, because I really hadn't meant to look. God, please, I don't mean to look. The words literally keep forcing me to look at the feet. I really hope that this stream might actually get me a community guideline strike.
You said clean it again tomorrow, right?
I did say that. The room seemed to spin a little, and my face went from feeling very hot to very cold. Stay away from each other. That was the rule. What was I supposed to do? Maybe it's okay if she stays. Just please, for the love of God, get your foot away from the text box. Literally rotate this image 90 degrees. Look how pitiful she is, said my brain. My brain was right, and I didn't know what to do except go along with it.
Well, it's not like I'm going to just send you back out into the rain. Not by yourself, anyway. Is there anyone else in your bubble? Anyone I can call to come get you, or...?
She looked down into her lap.
No.
Oh! Her response made me too nervous to ask any further questions. I wasn't sure I could handle a tragic backstory at that particular moment. In any case, I knew that if my parents were still around, they'd have never sent this girl back out into the night. They'd have let her stay, at least until she got her bearings. I sighed, giving in.
Okay. Well, you can sleep on my couch tonight. We'll figure the rest out tomorrow. We should really stay at least 6 feet apart, though.
God, you can just... I don't know, I was gonna say smell the 2021, and then I remembered that there's a giant foot on the screen, and then I was gonna say taste the 2021, and fuck, that was even worse. Oh. This one CG has made the last, 10 minutes hell.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Can you please take your foot away from the text box, ma'am? She nodded and gently removed her leg from my lap. I moved back, making more space between us, and sat to examine the rip in my pant leg. Meanwhile, my brain tried to fathom what was happening. I brought a stranger into my house. I didn't know who she was, or where she'd come from. This seemed like a bad idea, and also a tad surreal.
Damn, I liked these pants.
Oh no, did you get hurt too?
No, it's just a rip.
Oh, that's not so bad.
Oh, thank you. Oh, freedom. Please never subject me to that CG again, Sad Panda Studio. I stood up, I got up and made even more space between us. She stood up too, testing her weight on her injured leg.
Wow, it already feels so much better. You must have a magical healing touch.
I was starting to think you might be one of those weird optimistic people. Also, it was hard to think straight with her standing up in that very damp, very revealing dress. But be glad that you missed the feat. Oh, it was not an enjoyable time staring at feet for 10 minutes.
You need to take that dress off.
I think I need to hold on. Just in case something happens. I'm turning the scene off for a second. You guys will still be able to hear it. But just in case.
That came out wrong. What I mean is, it's wet and cold, and I'm sure you'd feel better if you changed into something dry and warm. I'm sure I have some extra clothes you can wear.
Really?
Okay. It seems like we're going to be fine for now. I need a hotkey to turn the source off. Hot in the face, I ran off to procure a basket of old clothes from my storage closet. I hadn't worn them since my teenage years. They were too small for me now, but they might be a good fit for her.
Here, take whatever you want. They're all clean.
I dropped the basket on the table and walked backwards away from it.
That's so nice of you. I'll get changed now.
I watched her take the basket and hobble out of the room to change where I couldn't see. Thank God. I can, almost guarantee that if I had the DLC for this game, it would show a lot more. When she came back, I was surprised to see that she had chosen a button-down that was part of my old school uniform, back before everything went online. Oh my god. Could you not have put pants on? I'd been much younger and much smaller when I wore that shirt, but even still, it swam on her frame. It almost looked like a nightgown, which was probably why she had chosen it.
I haven't felt this comfy since I don't know when.
Make the turn source off hotkey also the advanced text hotkey. Unfortunately, turn source off, advanced text, is left click. So, you know.
It's a school shirt, right? I always liked the look of school uniforms, but I never got to wear one. All my classes were online.
Are you not 20? Are you 15? Do I need to kick you out of my house for legal reasons? For some reason that made me a little sad. I myself had so few memories of the world before the sickness. It was hard to imagine not having any at all.
How old are you?
21. My birthday was actually last week.
Oh, okay. You better not be lying. Do I need to ID this woman that I caught in a bear trap?
Oh, well, happy belated birthday. Do you have a name?
You do. It's Mallory. I know it. I'm tired of pretending I didn't know her name was Mallory this entire time.
Oh, of course I do. It's Mallory.
Nice to meet you, Mallory. Well, not nice, exactly. Weird to meet you, I guess. Ugh, I'm not used to people.
Yeah, I get it. I didn't mean to trespass onto your property. I really did get lost. And then the rain started, and I could hear these dogs or something howling. I was scared, and I ran towards the first light I saw.
I nodded as if to say I understood. It was true that there were things like wolves and coyotes in the area. And it was true that there were things like wolves and coyotes in the area. That was why I'd set up extra secure fence for my
But
chickens.
what were you doing out there in the first place?
I would rather not talk about that.
Tragic backstory! I stared at her, totally perplexed. Why the secrecy? Should I press for more? Let it go for now. She's had a shitty night. Decided not to push it. It was all too much, and I really needed sleep. My toe was hurting where I had stubbed it on the broom.
Don't worry about it. You're here now, so just take the opportunity to get some rest.
Bring strange girl into your house, stare at her feet now she's wearing one of your shirts and nothing else. Is this how babies are made? God, I hope we're not making babies. I don't have the 18 plus DLC. I skirted around her to try to grab some blankets. I maintained a wide berth as I dropped them off on the couch. Oh god, don't say berth! No! I offered her a glass of water, pointed out the bathroom, asked if she needed anything else, all from afar.
This is perfect. Thank you so much for everything. Truly, I'm lucky to have met you.
Yeah, just try not to touch anything, okay?
I shuffled my feet awkwardly.
Okay, I'm going to bed. Bye.
I hope you have sweet dreams. I'll see you in the morning.
Oh! As I made my way to the stairs, as I made my way up the stairs to my bedroom, I glanced back. Mallory was already curled up on the couch, looking quite cozy. Couldn't remember the last time I'd had anyone in my home, even briefly. I'd been so careful for such a long time. I don't know where she'd been, or if she'd been as careful as I was. But when my gaze fell on her bandaged leg, a prickle of guilt surged up.
Good night.
Okay, we're safe. I finished climbing the stairs and flopped down onto my bed. I was so exhausted, emotionally puzzled, and mentally drained. It didn't take long for me to fall deeply asleep. And that's chapter 2. Germination. I need to look up that word real fast. The development of a plant from a seed or spore after a period of dormancy. The process of something coming into existence and developing. I woke, as usual, to the happy sound of a rooster crowing in the garden. The sky was clear, and the early morning sun was bright and cheery. You'd think a morning like that would have put me in a great mood, but nope. Yo, germination. That's what this chapter is. Also, hold on, I am actually going to... How do I... Is it settings? Hotkeys. Hold on. Hide game. is now hotkeyed to space. I will just have to manually let me check that. Okay, hold on. Let me click out of. Why is that? Okay, I can't be tapped into OBS when I do it. Also, I have to go to the bathroom real fast. I have been drinking a lot of water this morning. I am back, calmed down. I've, at least I think, recovered. A bit, at least, you know. I don't know. I need a drink. It's not alcohol, but Mountain Dew voltage should do the trick. Yeah, I don't blame Blitz for leaving. All night my dreams had revolved around strange bugs infesting the cabin. Hordes of them swarming inside through every crack. I must have been tense all night, because my neck had a painful kink in it. I had definitely woken up on that proverbial wrong side of the bed. Suppose I'd forgot about my house guest. At least I hadn't remembered to think about her yet. I was busy making lists in my head of the work I needed to get done today, when the smoke alarm started shrieking. Twice we have heard her scream. I bolted up right in bed. Someone in my house, and I'd let her in. And yep, I could definitely smell something burning. I rushed to put on some real daytime clothes and barreled downstairs. Mallory stood in the kitchen looking mortified. A little smoke hung in the air, but I didn't see any flames. Grabbing a chair, I jumped up to silence the smoke alarm.
Thank you. I'm really so sorry. I tried wafting a dish towel at it, but the alarm just wouldn't stop. I didn't wake you, did I? Oh.
I wasn't really listening to her. I was too busy creating space between us and also looking for the source of the smoke. There it was. A pan with a charred black mass sitting in it. I didn't know what she'd burned, but she'd really burned it.
What is that?
Oh, I thought I'd make you breakfast as a thank you. My mom used to have the best recipe for potato pancakes that would always fuel me for the day. But these... well, I'm not totally sure what happened. I never used a stove like yours before, so this batch got a little... overdone. Maybe I can scrape off the burnt part. You know what? Forget I said that. It's all burnt part. I'll just clean up my mess and then I'll make you a new batch. And I will definitely be more careful this time.
Hang on. Did you say potato pancakes?
They're the best. It's too bad this first batch didn't turn out because I spent all morning digging up the potatoes, washing them, peeling them. They were so tiny it took extra long, and I was worried you'd wake up before I could finish.
Those potatoes weren't potatoes, were they?
Luckily, I've got some other treats on the go as well, so you're not going to starve. Just let me turn on the toaster real quick.
Turned reaching for the toaster handle, but the microwave was running and the kettle was boiling and...
Stop!
Too late. She'd overloaded the solar panel's inverter, and just like that, the kettle, microwave, toaster, and kitchen lights all shut off.
Why did you do that?
Mallory, having plated the overdone pancakes for some reason, dropped the plate in alarm. It smashed, flinging shards of itself across the floor. The blackened pancakes bounced like rocks. Sad potato
I'm
rocks.
sorry. I just wanted to make you some breakfast. I didn't mean to cause so much trouble. I'll clean this up.
I sighed in frustration. All I had wanted was to make coffee and sit down at my computer, just like every other morning. I couldn't do that now because I had to get the power sorted and check to make sure she hadn't completely destroyed my precious garden.
Are you angry with me?
How was I supposed to answer that? Not that big of a deal. It's fine. I was definitely upset. I definitely didn't like this situation, but it wasn't like she'd intentionally ruined my potatoes. She'd only been so audacious as to dig them up without permission, long before they were ready. Even after I'd specifically told her not to touch anything. I looked away.
I'm just not a breakfast person.
I'm really sorry. I just wanted to do something nice as a thank you for letting me stay here. I promise, I'll fix everything and then I'll just get ready to leave.
Sure. Whatever.
R.I.P. in potatoes. Suffer through breakfast with Mallory. I turned away and went to haul on my work gloves and my
I'll
boots.
be out in the yard for a while.
Oh, I heard that sniffling. Oh no, don't do this to me. No! I went out, and as I pulled the back door shut behind me, I heard a soft sound from the kitchen. Like a heavy sigh or a stifled sob. Wait, was she crying?
What did I get myself into? For real, I can't believe...
I continued muttering grumpily to myself as I strode out into the garden. I took a deep breath of fresh, cold air. It had an autumn bite to it, but the sun was warm. I instantly felt calm.
Well, she'll be gone soon anyway.
I took my time that morning dealing with the power issue and making my usual rounds. Happy hens? Check. Busy beehive? Check. I did a rough count of the firewood in my shed, and then made my way back around to the front of the cabin. Stopped when I saw the bloody animal trap Mallory had gotten hurt the night before.
Damn. That had to have been painful.
It's a fucking bear trap, of course! I felt pretty bad. Traps were only supposed to be wards, something to keep my bubble a little safer from dangerous wildlife. I had never meant for anyone to get hurt. I looked at the trap, wondering if I should rethink my setup. What do we think about this? Move the trap or leave it? I feel like if we move it, I'm going to forget that I've moved it, and I'm going to get stuck in it. And I mean, we know it's there now. I'll leave it. I decided to leave it. The traps were there for a reason, after all. What had happened to Mallory was more of a freak accident than anything else. I knew where the traps were, and that was the most important thing. Anyone unfamiliar with them shouldn't be creeping around here anyway. Confident in my decision, I carried on walking down into the garden. Right away I could see where Mallory had dug up breakfast. Surveyed the overturned earth with a heavy heart, and noticed a handful of small potatoes uprooted and abandoned. I could always plant something new here. It was the right time of year for garlic. The sun had already climbed high into the sky, and I was feeling almost warm enough to peel off my sweater. Figured I should probably go inside, maybe eat something, check in on poor Mallory, and get to work on my computer. Right away, she cleaned. No! No, my mess! I knew where everything was in the mess! Anyways, I went inside and kicked off my boots. Something didn't feel right. It took me a moment to realize. The mess was gone. There were no brooms on the floor, no garbage bags waiting to go out, no scattered crumbs or dust bunny cities. Everything looked so clean. It literally sparkled. But how and why? Had Mallory done all this just to make up for that little breakfast fiasco?
Oh, this is really nice. Like, really, really nice.
As I looked around at all she had done, I started to feel like a bit of an ass. Figured I should apologize, but where was she? She hadn't already left, had she? And I heard something coming from the bathroom. Sound of splashing water and a small human voice humming a happy tune. My heart sank.
She couldn't. She wouldn't.
Without thinking, I threw open the bathroom. Oh no. Okay. Space will also advance text. Good to know. Okay. I don't know how to feel about this CG. She's got a towel on. But it's not a very large towel. Just for safety, I'm gonna keep the game off for a second. We stared at each other, both of us shocked at my intrusion. My brain kicked back into gear and I tore my gaze away from her. But it was too late. I had seen everything, including the tub full of water.
What are you doing? I was just taking a bath.
pointed in the direction of the bathtub, keeping my eyes fixed on the
That's
doorframe.
my water supply!
It's still warm if you want to use it.
It actually is a bit worse than the clothes she put on. It is somehow less or more revealing. What? Did she not get it?
That's my water supply! My fresh water, my drinking water, my everything water! What were you thinking? Why did you use so much?
You know, I'm not super on board with this VN version of me. I would never get upset at a pretty girl. At least it would take a lot more than this to get me upset at a pretty girl. She would have to be like a mass murderer for me to be upset at a pretty girl. Panic was really setting in now. What if she'd run the cistern dry? I'd have almost nothing until the next rainfall, and who knew when that would be?
Oh my gosh, I had no idea. I had no idea. I'm so sorry. I really didn't know.
I'd never run out of water before, but that was because I'd always been so careful. This could be the very day I had so deeply feared would come.
How do you survive this way? It's like you're constantly wasting things.
I would never get upset at a pretty girl.
Is this why you were out in the rain last night? Did your bubble decide to kick you out because you don't know how to think before you act?
Stop yelling at the pretty girl! Her mouth popped open. Immediately felt bad for shouting. Damn, I really was in a bad mood today.
Just finish up in here. And don't drain that water, okay? I'll repurpose it for laundry or something.
We're keeping the mystery girl bathwater! The shame she has, no idea how to boil the water. I didn't want to acknowledge my own anger or the tears that had sprung up in their eyes at what I'd said, in case I needed to check the rain barrels. Like right that second. I turned my back on her and walked away. Okay, we're safe. For the rest of the afternoon, I sat at my computer waiting for Mallory to leave. I just couldn't stop thinking about her. And by that, I mean I couldn't stop thinking about how naive, careless, and wasteful she was. Nothing to do with her shimmery eyes or how sweet she seemed to be even when everything was horrible. Nope. The good news was I checked the rain barrels and the situation wasn't as dire as I feared. As long as it rained again sometime in the next few weeks, we'd be okay. Still, I sat at my computer for a long time, entirely unable to focus on my work. Mallory finally reappeared. She was holding the cardboard box of my old clothes. For some reason, she was still only wearing a bath towel. It made me feel all sorts of uncomfortable things, and I tried extra hard to keep my eyes on my computer screen. I'm gonna just... There we go. Pretended to type. Noticed the box had more clothing in it than before. Even saw some of my favorites peeking out. What are you up to? Cleared my throat loudly and Mallory looked at me.
What are you doing with those clothes?
That is a lot more accusatory than I meant that to be. Also, I think we're safe.
Oh.
Never mind, we're not.
Sort out what's good to wear. I hope that's okay.
Huh. Didn't sound too worrisome. Maybe she was finally getting ready to go.
Right. You're welcome to take anything that doesn't fit me anymore. I'm sure you could use some warmer things to wear out there on your travels.
I turned quickly back to my computer, hoping I hadn't hurt her feelings with my not-so-subtle reminder that I didn't want her. False! I do want her here. She's a pretty girl. We have already established that she is not infected. It is fine for a pretty girl to be here. Why do you care about her feelings? Asked my brain. You already told her she's not welcome. She'll be gone soon either way. I hyper-focused on my screen, and in another couple hours, I still had nothing done. Suddenly it was dark out, and I was starving. And Mallory still hadn't left. In fact, she was in the kitchen, and there were nice, savory smells wafting my way. walked off and shut down my computer, quickly but casually, making my way over to her. Found her tending to 3 separate pots on the stove, all of them simmering and steaming pleasantly. How dare she? Nothing was burning this time either, which made me feel annoying feelings like impressed and kind of excited to eat that. Mallory noticed me standing there and smiled way too brightly.
Oh, good, you're finished working.
Why are you still in a towel? Mallory, please put clothes on. She started dishing out the oddly fancy-looking meal on 2 large plates.
What is all this?
It's all made from freeze-dried proteins and grains I found in the pantry, and some spices, which, by the way, make all the difference when it comes to flavoring a dish. Oh, and I only used things that were already open, so I hope I didn't overstep again. I can tell you work really hard, and I know I made a mess of things, and I just really wanted to make it up to you. I'm determined to have a net positive impact here.
She thought I'd been nice? At this point, I may as well buy the DLC. I know for a fact that she would not be wearing a towel if I had the DLC. Or if she was still wearing the towel, it wouldn't be covering anything. I was suddenly very concerned about how low the bar was for her. I also couldn't help feeling a little charmed by her determination. I wanted to let her know that I did actually appreciate her efforts.
Well, this does look incredible. And by the smell of it, I'm pretty sure I'll be licking these plates clean. You did wash your hands before you started, right?
Yes, silly. And I still don't have any symptoms of any sicknesses either. So come on, let's eat. I want you to enjoy it while it's hot.
There's something so endearing about the simplicity of her delight. I smiled as I took my plate and sat down at the far end of the table away from her. We ate in silence. At this point, well, yeah, but then you wouldn't stream it unless worrying about what is or isn't shown. That's fair. Food really was delicious. I wouldn't have guessed she'd had it in her, not based on that morning. I wonder if I should try to get some answers out of her now, I thought, and cleared my throat.
How's your leg feeling?
It's not too bad.
I should probably take a look at it after supper, clean it up, and put a fresh bandage on it.
Oh god, I'm gonna have to look at her feet again, aren't I?
And then, I suppose we should talk about getting you home.
Right. Home.
I mean, I don't know if you have a family, or a group, or whatever, or if you're on your own like me, but you don't exactly look like you, live in the forest. So, where are you headed?
She lifted one shoulder, visibly uncertain.
Surely there must be someone, somewhere.
I'll figure something out.
Hang on, no. I want to make sure you're going to be okay.
I thought you just wanted me to leave.
Ideally, I'd like to know at least something about your situation. Maybe I could help you.
She looked away.
That's sweet of you, but I'm sorry. I'm just not ready to talk about it.
Okay.
We felt quiet once more, just the awkward scrape of forks on plates to fill the silence. I considered her as she sat across from me. So beautiful it was as if she were a digital painting.
Can I just ask one more question? Why are you still wearing that towel?
Thank you! She looked at me blankly, as a few morsels of food bounced on her fork fell back onto her plate. She glanced down at herself, then up again, hands clapping against the side of her face.
What? You mean I've been wearing this the whole time?
That's not your dress, Mallory.
Oh, I can't believe it. How do I forget these things? Oh, I'm so embarrassed. Oh my gosh.
This sounds like a terrible attempt at flirtation. Couldn't help laughing. Felt like I was finally catching on. She was a bit of a space case. That was all. And her mannerisms made it sort of adorable. I need to just take a screenshot of this real fast. And send it to someone.
can't.
Her efforts to flee quickly were hampered by her leg. She ended up limping away in search of her clothes, mumbling exasperately under her breath. When it hit me, I hadn't even considered how much pain she must have been in as she cooked and cleaned and tried so hard to pay me back. Pay me back for what, though? I'd only wanted to help, and I hadn't even done a great job of it. And now I was trying to send her away, knowing full well she had nowhere to go. No, I couldn't do that. No, I felt like I had to make things up to her. I tidied up quickly from supper and returned to my computer. Booted up my 3D printer. I didn't use the thing often, but it was there for emergencies, and this seemed urgent enough. Also, I think I'm safe to turn the game back on for now. I managed to find a design that was close to what I'd imagined and set everything up and stood back to watch the printer do its thing. Just then, Mallory emerged wearing her dress.
Oh, you already cleaned up. I guess that's it then.
It is a nice dress. I really like her dress. I wish it was a bit longer. She stood beside the table, leaning on it for support. Stood in front of the printer while it worked. I didn't know what to say, so I decided to just let words come out of my
You
mouth.
should stay. Also, I'm sorry. I've been a total asshat to you.
There we go! We're nice to the pretty girl! She looked up at me, nervously clutching the sides of her dress in her tiny hands. Her mouth opened and closed like she didn't know what to say either, so I just kept going.
It was kind of a shock to have you show up here. I haven't had anyone visit, ever, because this has always been my space, my family's space. I guess I felt sort of invaded. But now I realize that's stupid. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, I wouldn't feel right making you leave when you're clearly in a bad spot. I have the means to help you, and there's no reason why I shouldn't. If you want to leave, that's fine, but there's no rush. Cool?
She smiled softly, her eyes seeming to glitter.
Cool.
Behind me, the 3D printer finished its work. Turned around to take the sheet of gauze with the cute potato pattern I'd printed, hoping it would amuse her and lighten the mood. 3D printers do not work that fast.
Can I redress your leg now?
The pattern on the gauze made her giggle, and she nodded and sat down, propping her leg up. Do I need to... Okay. I prepared once again for the uncomfortable closeness that was necessary for the task. Scrubbed my hands, put on a mask and pair of gloves, and went to sit by her with the first aid kit. We chatted idly as I cleaned and packed her wound. Okay. Afterwards, I got her set up on the couch and bid her goodnight. I wasn't exactly tired, but I figured it was better to leave things off on a pleasant note before things got awkward again. Climbed up the stairs to my loft and lay in bed, staring at the ceiling above me. I thought about how angry I'd been with her actions that morning. Thought about how scared and uncomfortable I'd felt throughout the day. How was it now, a matter of hours later, to feel such a gentle fondness for the very same person who'd made me so upset? Moody hermit, I accused myself. You're probably right, I thought in reply. And with that, I closed my eyes and waited for sleep. Chapter 4, Growth. Okay, but a little hospitality with your hostility. I slept soundly that night, and woke up feeling surprisingly good. The sun was shining, my body and mind were refreshed, and once again, something smelled delicious in a kitchen-y kind of way. Yeah, I could get used to this, thought my brain. I rolled my eyes at myself as I hopped out of bed. This was the start of a new routine. It had to be. Mallory was here now, and I didn't want either one of us taking advantage of the other. I wondered if she'd like to learn about the systems I had set up for off-grid living. Definitely needed her to understand why certain things were important, like conserving water, obviously, but she might actually enjoy being involved with the work I did on the daily. Maybe we could share the load. She could be the Sam to my Frodo. My heart felt kind of bright and big at the thought of having a friend, even if just for a while. It was something to break up the mind-numbing monotony of that sweet, post-apocalyptic lifestyle I'd been living. I could be an okay teacher. I've taught a few online courses before, for beginners wanting to learn C#. Teaching someone how to feed a chicken shouldn't be any harder than that. Treaded softly down the stairs and stuck into the kitchen. Some egg medley bubbled away in a skillet, and a pot of rice was boiling over. Mallory stood with her back to me, struggling to reach something high up in the cupboard.
Your pot is boiling.
Oh, you surprised me. Good morning. How did you sleep?
It's not a CG, I have to turn the game off for. Brilliant. She moved back to the stove to transfer the rice off the heat. Then she picked up the skillet and gave the eggs a good
I
toss.
slept okay. How about you?
She smiled, wiping her hands on her apron. It was my mother's apron, actually, and I was pleasantly surprised to see it. It had been tucked away in a bottom drawer and forgotten about for a long time.
Great. Your couch is super comfy, and that blanket is so cozy and warm.
Good, I'm glad.
My gaze drifted to the open cupboard behind Mallory.
Did you need something from up there?
She looked back at the cupboard and let out a nervous giggle.
Yes, please. I was looking for aspirin and I thought I saw a bottle up there, but I couldn't really reach. I didn't want to risk standing up on a chair or something with my leg.
Is it getting more painful? I did notice a little redness yesterday, but I didn't think it was infected. Unless... Wait, you're not feeling sick, are you?
No, it's just the leg. It's a bit achy.
Motioned for her to switch places with me, keeping some distance between us while I reached up and grabbed the aspirin bottle out of the cupboard. It was still half full, yet I hesitated a moment. I elected to share my supply, but then I could order more, along with that first aid kit I needed to replace. I set the bottle on the counter and stepped away so Mallory could take it. She smiled so brightly that dimples appeared in her cheeks.
Thank you so much. You're the best.
I pressed my lips together, trying not to smile. We were still standing too close to one another. I took another few steps back, clearing my throat.
Maybe it's time for another temperature check, just to be sure.
I went to grab the scanner and came back.
Could you, move your hair?
She lifted her bangs off her forehead so I could get a clear reading with the temperature scanner. After a few moments, the happy sound of one beep let me know she was fever-free.
Okay, you're good. But we should keep distancing until enough time has passed to know for sure.
Mallory nodded as she untied her apron. Then she did a little twirl on her good leg and offered me a plate.
How's this for a second attempt at breakfast?
Okay, you didn't need the cleavage shot. The food looked glorious. I knew the eggs were fresh because I'd collected them myself a few days prior, but still, what she had done with them was beyond impressive. Rough chopped vegetables and herbs gave splashes of color to the omelet, which was stuffed with steaming hot rice speckled with even more seasonings. The whole thing had a downright heavenly aroma. Suddenly, some good old Shakespeare came into my brain. Did my heart love till now? Or swear at sight? For I ne'er saw true beauty till this, the breakfast. I thought to myself, you are a nerd.
Well, you seem to have learned how to use the stove properly.
She blushed. Oh no, I hope I hadn't embarrassed her. I meant it as a jokey, complimenty thing. You've been alone for too long, I said to my brain.
Really, this is amazing, and I don't deserve it.
We enjoyed our breakfast at the dining room table, sitting across from each other just like the previous night. Second breakfast. Have a nice breakfast with Mallory. Through the great big windows at Mallory's back, the yard looked bright and inviting.
Looks like we'll have great weather today. I was thinking of doing some work in the garden for a while. A place like this needs a lot of maintenance. 10 acres of green space, all the off-grid systems. It's a constant running to-do list to keep everything going.
It seems pretty amazing. Is it hard to take care of it all by yourself?
It can be hard work, but it's worth it.
Well, what can I do to help?
I looked at her, a little surprised. She should probably stay off her feet for now.
You've done more than enough to help me. Anyway, with that injury, you should be resting more than anything else. I have lots of books on the shelf over there if you want to just sit and read for a bit while I'm working.
I'd much rather be outside enjoying the nice weather.
Sure, you can totally sit on the porch and read a book.
She giggled.
Or I could come with you. You could teach me all about how you live off the land.
Great, but you're already risking an infection on your leg.
We should get to know each other at least a little bit, shouldn't we?
She had a point. It had already crossed my mind that I should acquaint her with the property and the way I did things. I conceded.
Alright then, I guess you'll join me.
Not about insisting. we'd both mask up if we were going to be spending the day in close proximity. But I thought about it some more, and since we'd be outside with lots of space all around, and since neither of us had any symptoms, I imagined it would be fine. As we headed outside, I offered Mallory a jacket. She declined. I was skeptical that she'd be warm enough in her threadbare dress, but it was her call. At least the sun was warm today, and there wasn't much wind. I let Mallory lead the way through the garden. She would stop to examine all the different growing things, all the fruits and vegetables, more than enough for one person. I often had an overabundance of produce, so I would end up canning a lot of it. Except for those potatoes. Rest in potatoes.
Oh my gosh! Are these strawberries?
There she stood in the strawberry patch, a total look of wonderment on her
They look
face.
so plump and juicy, and they're so red! How did you grow them?
I hope I know how to amputate a leg. I do not!
They're actually the easiest thing to maintain around here. They grow like weeds. Pretty much every year I get 3 whole harvests out of this patch.
Really? What do you do with all of them?
I make my own jams, put them in salads, make smoothies, things like that. I dehydrate some for easy snacking too. But I think they're best right off the bush. You're welcome to have some.
Her eyes widened. They were huge and actually twinkling now. How did she do that? She's an anime girl.
I've never eaten a strawberry before. Are you sure?
Never. Jeez. Yeah, help yourself. Just put your index finger and thumb right behind the stem and pinch it off.
I watched her reach out in search of the perfect strawberry to pluck.
Watch out for slugs.
She paused, stuck her tongue out at me in jest, and selected her perfect first strawberry.
Oh, wow. These taste just like sunshine. I could eat these every day.
That is a fair descriptor of strawberries.
Feast away.
I couldn't help but want to offer her everything just then. The happiness radiating off of her was like addictive or something.
Oh, look. This one's shaped like a heart. Ooh, this one here is huge. Look how shiny and red it is. It's like something out of a picture book. Oh, there's a little bug munching on that one. Enjoy your meal, little bug.
I smiled to myself. While Mallory chattered away, eating strawberries by the handful, I picked up my rake and started taking care of the fallen leaves that were encroaching on the garden. Mallory noticed and came over.
Can I do that?
Her smile was brighter than the sky above
Oh,
us.
no, that's okay. You need to go easy on your leg.
My leg feels fine. Please?
You were talking about earlier about how it was achy, Mallory. No. She just looked so earnest. Reluctantly, I passed her the rake. While Mallory took care of the raking, I made my way to the other end of the garden where I worked at pulling up weeds. Pretty soon I had a bucket almost filled. When I looked around for Mallory, I saw her standing beside her leaf pile in progress, pausing to catch her breath. I felt bad for letting her take on the raking. She'd probably end up feeling pretty sore afterwards. Still, it was nice to have the help. I could already tell that the chores would go quicker this way. I watched her until she'd finished her little break and gone back to raking. Rather, until she spotted me looking at her and gave me a big thumbs up, which I pretended I hadn't seen.
Pulling up weeds.
Shook my head at myself, tossing another fistful of leafy stalks into the bucket. Something about this girl stirred up my insides. She was like a cartoon princess, too happy and determined, almost too good to be real. I, for one, definitely wouldn't have been tough enough to pick up a rake with a leg injury like that. If anything, I'd have sat on my couch playing video games until it healed. So I guess I felt a feeling that was partway between admiration and total bewilderment. Because there Mallory was, her pale skin glistening as she did my yard work for me, her dress swaying and dancing around her thighs as she moved. Wait, am I still looking at her? I thought I went back to weeding. I had to put an end to this distraction. It looked like Mallory was just about finished anyway, so I carried my bucket over to her.
Looking good. Good work, I mean.
Great save, me.
Let's move all this stuff to the compost bin.
Okay. What's that?
I showed her the bin, and as we filled it with weeds and old leaves, I gave her the rundown.
Basically, I put all the dead plant matter and vegetable waste I have into the tumbler. Since it's a sealed container, it traps lots of heat inside and helps the stuff break down. See the handle on the side? I use that to turn the tumbler so everything gets mixed together.
Then, once it's all broken down, I mix it in with the garden soil. The compost gives the soil extra nutrients, which helps the plants grow. It's kind of like the circle of life. I save all the peels and ends from the produce I eat, turn them into compost, and use that to grow more stuff. So the garden really provides its own nutrients for the next crop of plants that grow there.
Wow, that's amazing.
Honestly, everyone should be doing this. It's a big part of reducing waste.
It's like a big, friendly leaf monster. Num num num.
She fed the last of the garden waste into the mouth of the bin, then I patted the top of it as though praising a good dog. I nearly snorted with laughter. She was too pure for this world, really. For a few moments we stood together admiring the garden. It looked so clean and healthy now. Then, with a twinge of anxiety, I noticed how close we were to one another. How closely we'd been working. But it was probably fine. She seemed healthy. More than healthy. She was handling her injury remarkably well. Is that the so-called power of positive thinking at work? Oh, fuck. Never mind. I lurched backward, looking at her in horror.
Are you feeling sick?
No, sorry. It's just my throat is dry. I'm really thirsty.
Oh, right. We'd been working for a while, and now that she mentioned it, I felt pretty parched too.
I'll go get us some water.
I dipped inside, took a few deep breaths, and went to fill up a couple of stainless steel water bottles. Everything was fine. Her temperature had been normal from the get-go. She had no fatigue, no symptoms of the virus at all, apart from that one cough, which was justified. Still, it was a reminder that I shouldn't be letting my guard down. When I returned outside, I found Mallory staring up at my roof with one hand to shade her eyes from the intense sunlight.
What are those? They look like shields for your house.
I looked up at the roof where she was pointing.
Oh, sort of. They're solar panels. And they look like they could use a sweep, actually.
Why? What are they for?
They absorb energy from the sun and turn it into power for the cabin.
What? Really?
Here, face towards the sun and spread your arms out.
She hesitated, then raised her arms up. She closed her eyes and tilted her head so the sun lit up her pale face.
Feel the warmth? That's energy from the sun, or as I like to call it, the nuclear furnace that sits in the sky 150 million kilometers away from us. The solar panels take that energy and convert it into electricity. That current makes its way down to a charge controller, which turns the current into voltage for the batteries. My computer, appliances, and lights are all modified to run off that DC voltage.
I don't think Mallory understood a word of that.
Oh, and the charge controller is hooked up to a battery that can store all that incoming energy, so we can still run the power for a while, even when the sun has gone away.
I hope my explanation made sense. For someone who never seen solar panels before, the concept might be a hard one to grasp.
So you capture the sunshine and turn it into energy? Isn't that like what flowers do?
Yeah, that's one way of thinking about it.
The twinkle in her eyes had returned. She continued to gaze up at the panels and
It's like magic. If we'd had something like this where I grew up, then the citywide power outages wouldn't have mattered so much.
her smile faded a little. Suddenly the conversation felt heavy. I wanted to ask her to tell me more, but I was afraid.
Give me a few minutes to sweep the leaves off the roof. Then we can go say hi to the hens.
Ooh, okay.
They're over there, just FYI, in case I happen to fall to my death or something.
What?
Don't worry. If that happens, you can just bury me in the garden. My corpse will give lots of nutrients to the soil.
She gasped, clearly horrified, and I couldn't keep a straight face anymore. I laughed.
Don't kid around like that. It's not funny.
Sorry. I'll be back in a few. You rest.
I grabbed my ladder and broom from the shed and headed up onto the roof. I swept all the leaves off the solar panels and cleaned out the eaves troughs? No idea what that is. For good measure. Paused to gaze down at Mallory in the garden. She looked so at peace among all the plants. Butterflies had gathered nearby on a patch of wildflowers, and she was smiling at them. I didn't think I'd ever seen a sweeter scene. I looked across the distant hills towards what remained of the city. That was where Mallory had come from. I assumed so, but now that she'd confirmed it with her comments about the power outages, the thought of living there almost hurt. Even from my rooftop, I could see how everything had fallen into disrepair. I remembered the long-ago announcement that public buildings would be closing down indefinitely. Sports stadiums, movie theaters, malls, and offices had all been shuttered. Even apartment complexes and private homes had to change. People were moved and shovelled around as fences went up and shared spaces became inaccessible. Anything to keep people apart from each other, or at least in their own small safety bubbles. I hadn't set foot in the city in years, and looking at it now, I had no desire to set foot there ever again. With a sad sigh, I turned my back on the ghost city and climbed down from my roof. I met Mallory in the garden and forced a smile.
Ready?
She seemed so excited as we made our way over to the chicken coop. For a moment, I even thought I saw a spring in her step. Then I realized it was just her limp. Was the aspirin she'd taken wearing off already? The chickens clucked with extra enthusiasm when they saw I had company. When I opened the door to their fenced-in area, some of them flapped their wings furiously, setting feathers flying and making Mallory laugh.
For as long as they've been alive, I've been alone. So they're either happy for me or scared of you. Not sure.
I pulled the gate shut behind us. Mallory was already saying hello to each individual chicken, giving them compliments and asking about how they were enjoying the morning. Then she saw the chicks and she gasped.
Babies!
Did I not mention that? Yeah, they hatched a few days ago. You can pick them up if you want.
Hold on, let me check something. Okay. She looked up at me, her eyes doing that shimmery, sparkly thing again. I saw that there were tears there, and I thought, or hoped, that they were tears of joy.
They're so cute! Are you sure I can touch them? It looks like they'll break, they're so tiny.
That was literally my first thought about you when you were caught in my fucking bear trap. Honey, that was exactly how I felt about her. We're on the same page.
They'll be okay. Just gently scoop them up into your hands.
Okay.
She carefully held out her hands. Oh. Some of the chicks came closer investigating her, and it didn't take long before a couple of them volunteered to step under her palms. And that is where we have to stop for today. I have a chiropractor appointment I've got to get to. Because being hit by a truck kind of throws your spine out of alignment, and yeah. So that is going to be it for me for today. This is probably just like a one-off stream. If I do it again, it'll probably be because I've just got another like hour and a half stream that I want to do. But that